I've just put some salmon with fennel thyme salsa and mustard greens, sprouts, on some bread that I made for James. So it's a rye, I'll tell you about it. And I'll talk about this. And I'm gonna drop everything. I'm holding way too much right now. So there we go. If you need a fork, there's a fork, because the bread, I made it too dry.
It's kind of a bit crumbly then?
Yes. So anyway, the bread I put quinoa flakes, rye flour, and a whole lot of dry walnut crumbs. So there, I put too much walnut crumbs, and it's kind of falling apart. But it should be healthy.
Tastes good too.
And tasty.
Yeah.
I put molasses in to sweeten it to try to rise it, and whatever, it didn't work out because of too much walnut. But he likes it. So I was going to talk about this book. I read this quite a while ago, and I haven't talked about it yet. But the author, Uli
Lust. It means Uli. I don't know if the Uli is short for that. Lust means pleasure.
Okay.
It doesn't quite mean what it means in English. It's related to, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. But she talks about, or she deals with some issues, important issues, just that happened in her life and in different way. Now she does draw some pretty graphic.
Yeah, it's pretty racy.
Yeah, but she's not a good artist.
It's not bad. I've seen way worse in comics.
Yeah, and I mean, she's put a lot of pages together here, so this must have taken her some time, honestly.
How many pages? About 350.
But I mean, she talks about writing or
365.
Drawing the stuff, and she was on the public coin. She was doing it on the public coin.
You gotta be kidding.
No, she was on welfare. And
Oh well, that's a little bit.
well, whatever. But at least she was doing something. Yeah. Where I don't
public
know.
coin I don't like is kind of
Like, yeah. Right now we're working on a project, and we're not on any kind of public coin. We're James has been denied his old age security.
For the time being, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, I think, well, why bother with the paperwork when you're just trying to kill off the senior citizens anyway? You know, it just doesn't make
That's
any
right.
sense.
Hey, give me my money before I die of COVID, you morons.
So, anyway, so they denied him his old age security because, I mean, he can't. I've seen his passport. I know it existed, and so he's a Canadian citizen, born to Canadian parents, and
there's a record there somewhere, you bozos,
So,
you bozo bureaucrats.
How in the world have they lost track of him as a Canadian citizen? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, he got his passport stamp going around all over the place, and when he was younger, and anyway, somehow, like, he went through the school system here, so it's amazing.
Yeah, on my
how
mom's
they
side,
lose
my
track
ancestors came up from the United States before Canada existed.
Yeah.
This was
Which
right
is
after the
amazing,
American
right?
Revolution.
So they
were
denied him
United
his
Empire
old age
loyalists,
security
as
so
they're
far.
called.
So he's already reached age 66.
So that would be somewhere,
and he
presumably
hasn't gotten that.
1776 to 1783. That's almost 100 years before Canada existed. And then I had an explorer ancestor, so I've been told, named Joseph House.
So,
And he was hanging around these parts. Not too many people hanging around these parts of white persuasion.
I mean, the
And
government,
that
honestly,
was almost 200 years ago.
the
More than
government-
200 years ago, I think. Now, the guy never married. How did he have descendants. He had a common law wife. And she was a person of color. And indigenous people, many of them say they were here forever. You going to deny me my rights? Government of Canada?
Well, I mean, really, it's foolish of them
That
because
is
they might,
bad form.
if they looked into it, surely they would. They must be hoping to kill me off with COVID too, and I'm a lot younger than you. Because honestly, I'm not going to let you get away with not paying up, Government of Canada.
Wow.
So you're going to have to kill me off too if you don't want to pay out his pension, because I am going to demand it. So anyway,
I've got ancestors apparently who've been here for at least 10,000 years.
yeah.
Beat that, you bureaucrats.
So
And like I said, some indigenous people say forever.
at first, when I was reading this, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to get through this," because it really didn't take me that long. And like I said, she does deal with some important issues. Like a lot of people don't realize things. They get involved with different people. For one thing, I mean, she's a yellow. She's an aggressive personality type, and they actually don't empathize well with other people. They're all look at me, look at me, look at me, and so it's all really about them, and it's hard for. So there's a lot of yellows out there. They have this idea of what everyone else is like, but it's superficial. They have no. I don't even think they have the skills, the ability to actually recognize other people for anything more than just superficial attributes. So,
Kind of like a set for their little play that
exactly.
they're doing a one-person
So,
play in.
anyway, so here she is. She's young at this point. So I shouldn't be so hard on her. I'm not trying to be. But anyway, she was involved with a man, and then they decided to have an open relationship. And
Or did he decide?
well, he allowed it, really,
Okay.
because
Bit of a reversal.
yeah, he had, all of a sudden he had some troubles with, well, she doesn't say what it is, but intimacy troubles, and he didn't want to deny her. He still wanted to have a relationship with her. I think it was probably erectile difficulty or something. I think he was older. I can't remember. It was a bit old ago that I read this, a while ago. So anyway, she gets involved with a man from Africa, and I think he has a work visa or something, and that's why he's there. He's not a citizen in the country that she's living in Europe. I can't remember where, because frankly I didn't care.
Well, you guess Germany. Her name is German.
I'm not
Or
going to
it could be Austria or Switzerland.
I don't care. So anyway, she's living in Europe somewhere, and there's this man from Africa that she gets involved with, and honestly, she didn't even bother to get to know him before she got involved with him. And a lot of people do this. A lot of people, they just, I've never understood it. You go to a bar and you can't hear anything in the bar, so you're just basing whatever click you have with somebody on their appearance, or maybe the way they move, or the way they smell. I don't know.
Yeah,
which the way they smell might be, that might be something. Because women actually pick their mate according to scent, for like when they're wanting to mate with them, because they'd have a stronger, more resilient offspring based on whatever scent person, the genetic profile that they can actually tell that through scent, which is bizarre, but that's how women pick out their mates. So, and the person who's the ideal alpha male for one woman is not the same person for another woman. It's just that way. You know, we pick out our mates according to scent, based on our genetic profile, their genetic profile. So anyway, so she's gotten involved with this guy, and it turns out he's from a place where they practice female mutilation and genetic not genetic.
Doesn't narrow down the countries terribly much.
No.
Sad to say.
Well, he does. They say where he's from and everything.
Yeah,
but it doesn't
Somalia.
matter. It doesn't
Somalia
matter.
might be a good beginning guess.
But anyway, genital mutilation. So.
It's supposed to be cutting, but don't use cutting. That's a euphemism. Absolutely
no,
shameful
it's
euphemism.
mutilation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's horrific. So anyway, and honestly, I'm not sexist about this. I think it's horrific that people, that men, babies, that are baby males are circumcised.
Yeah, I think they lose
Or
a
even
substantial percentage
children, you know, like
certain
even if you say, okay, well, we'll wait until they're 12 or whatever, that's still awful.
It's unacceptable.
It's unacceptable.
Shouldn't be done to
It shouldn't
men
be done before age 25.
Well,
your brain is still developing, and you're not fully formed until that point. I mean, you can say, okay, well, brains have plasticity or whatever, and they can. No, it's actual development. You're not actually grown up until you're 25. You have prefrontal development still at that point. So
I think to be consistent, you have to say the age of majority 18.
well,
People are allowed to vote.
legally, yeah, I would have to say that, but I don't.
But morally,
Morally, it's not right, and it shouldn't be until age 25. You shouldn't. If somebody goes up and they haven't been coerced and they want to get this done for whatever reason, or if there's an actual health problem that makes that, for whatever reason, makes that essential, that they're not going to survive without that or whatever, then, but otherwise, I really believe age 25. I mean, people have to be informed, and I think people should get continued education until they're 25 also. I think you should get your post-secondary paid for until that point, and then you go off and have your family, whatever. I don't know. But
I think college should be required
yeah.
for anyone who's sound mind and body. College. So high school plus 2 years.
So it ends up that he's from a completely different culture than she's been brought up in, and she's learning that as she goes. You know, she hasn't bothered to actually figure out that, wait, other people are different, and before she gets involved with this guy, right? She's young.
Yeah.
And
let me guess, is she a left winger?
So
a fake left winger?
anyway, he turns out he brings a knife to the bedroom a few times, right, or whatever, and he's so he's a bit aggressive, and anyway.
So is he wanting to do a little surgery, or is that?
It's assumed that he's threatening that, right? He calls her all sorts of names, like, I don't know, slut or whatever, and this and that, and
classy.
Yeah, he's really classy, and so anyway, it's a bit of a learning experience for her, and she's grown through this, and she feels bad about the first man that she had a relationship with from her own culture, that she thinks, she really deep down she's thinking, why did I get involved with this other guy, and why didn't I just accept the relationship as it was and work, because the first guy that she's with, he ends up finding a different relationship. They have an open relationship, right? So he finds one that works out for him, and he lives happily ever after with this other woman. She's sort of thinking, oh, well, you know, I really blew it. And she did. But she was young, and so there's second chances. But and there's other things in this book that she deals with, like she gets Lyme disease at one point. She gets the bullseye on her butt, and
different place for it.
Yeah, well, honestly, I don't know.
I think it happens in people's back a lot, but
I don't know how many times, like in her picture of it, it looks like ringworm or something. But anyway,
well, she's
some
not
people
the greatest artist.
No, you're right. But she got it treated right away, and no big deal for her, right? So.
Well, we're talking about Europe.
Yeah. So.
I think Germany's relatively enlightened about things like that.
So. But anyway, this it might be worth reading for some people. If you're young, it might educate you before you get involved with people from elsewhere and think, oh, you know, we're all the same. What they have a different religion or whatever, but surely, you know, we all have the same God. You know, they have different names, but no, they're different gods. Obviously, if you look into it, they have very different characteristics. And anyway, and it's
religions are really different.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the most important
And
things
people
I
are
think
really
is for people. Yeah, people are different, but is to learn another language, and preferably many languages. And then what you've got to understand is that religions, to a certain extent, can almost be as wild and as weird to someone who's being introduced to a different religion as a language is. Why would it be any different? These are aspects of culture. So people will go around saying, all religions are the same. That would be almost as foolish as saying, every language is the same. Every language isn't the same. Okay? There are certain basics of language. But understand, you can't go and just swim in a language. You can't go in another language. You can't go swim in another religion. You can't go swim in another culture. They're not the same. They're really different. Now here's another thought. For some of you people that think you're left-wing and you're not. When you're looking at cultures other than our so-called Western culture, you're looking at something different. Western culture is a misnomer. They say it's the West. It's the rest. It's the rest. The West has picked up this, that, and the other thing from this, that, and the other place. It's the rest. And when you go to a culture other than the West, you're getting one thing. So you think, you look at the West and say, hey, you know, this is a real intolerant culture. No, it's just the opposite, you moron. It's about as tolerant as things get now. Not ideal. I'd like to see things get more tolerant. But when you go to another culture, other than the West, you're not getting the rest. You're getting the rest from the rest. You're getting something basically that's intolerant. I know that's politically incorrect, but factually correct. And that's what apparently this woman was finding out. She's actually dealing with facts. And it's a tough road to hoe when you're dealing with facts. The sooner you start waking up to the facts and stop imposing on yourself some weird view of reality, so much the better. And you know what's going to be even better? When you stop imposing your stupid view of what you think is reality on other people, then things get really, really good. So wake up and smell the coffee or whatever it is that wakes you up in the morning.
But I would recommend taking courses. Like there's
Yeah.
a lot of, you could, right now there's COVID, you don't want to go to the library, or you can't. They're probably closed. Haven't looked into it for a while. But if you have internet at home, and most people do, most people have internet right on their phone, right, available with them at all times. But if you do have internet at home, you can take the Gale courses for free from your public library. Just sign up for them through the library website and all that sort of thing. It's absolutely free. Or you can take the, just look into what your public library offers. Mine offers those. It's not a really big city I live in. And anybody can take the great courses, stream them online, and they're really good. They're great. So just look up the great courses and you'll find loads of them. There's other places where you can take free courses too that are decent. But you can learn a lot. All sorts of things. And eventually you learn to learn from people with a wary eye. So you start going, okay, well, here's this person's bias or whatever, and I'm gonna, grain of salt, right? Mm-hmm. But anyway,
Start developing tolerance. Like the thing is, we're supposed to deal in a multicultural society. It's a polycultural society. There are 6.7 or 6.8 billion people in the world, maybe a little bit less than last time I checked, thanks to very bad governments around the world, but and COVID-19. But we live in a polycultural society. So what happens is people are saying they pick and choose the bigger cultures, like, well, they don't really like to approve of Christianity or Judaism. It's a really small little religion. But all the other things, wow, But the big trouble is they crush subcultures. So we live in a world, maybe 6.8 billion people. The only cultures I respect are cultures of one. There should be ideally a culture for every person in the world. When you're a fake multiculturalist, a polyculturalist, you're going around saying, this big culture here, it might be 1 billion people, 500 million people and stuff like that, they have the right to crush the people that are born in their culture, or crush the people where their people move to and stuff like that. They don't have that right. They don't have that right. You're a polyculturalist. You just believe in maybe a half dozen cultures or a dozen cultures. And you think that those cultures have the right to crush people. You're a right-winger.
well,
What you are is a corporatist. You are a corporatist like a fascist or a Nazi,
Well, that's
or
exactly what it is.
a person who believes in corporations. You believe in or communist organizations that see themselves as a body
What it
crushing the cells of their body.
What it is a belief that the strongest survive. So it's what those sort of they tend to be yellows. What those sort of, but then not always.
Not always. There's a lot of reds.
There's some. The most dangerous ones are the red yellows, the ones that are red and they have some yellow aspects and they're way over the most aggressive part of the scale. But
Hitler might be a classic case.
but what these people actually believe in is the whole what is it? What am I thinking of it? The it's social Darwinism. The
Survival of the fittest.
yeah, it's that sort
Natural
of thing.
selection.
So natural, yeah, but it's like it's a creepy sort of unnatural selection, really.
Oh.
The toughest, the most aggressive are superior, and they're they're the ones that are going to fight it out and win in the end. So it's not a belief in multiculturalism. It's portrayed as such, but what it just opens a path for one group to fight it out and win in the end. Or if that doesn't work out, just total anarchy. So it's either way, it's not a positive outcome, right? It's not a positive progression for any society or life of any kind, actually, on the planet. So
I can remember asking a representative, and kind of like a legally constituted representative hired by the state, of one of these big polycultural religions. I said, so are you in the long run allies with left-wingers? Do you have anything in common with them? Oh yeah? And that's at a university. Nope. Wake up and smell the coffee. You might think you've got something in common with them. But no. They don't have anything in common with you, and they recognize it. And sooner you wake up to that fact, the better it is for all concerned. Well, there you go.